What's going on, everybody? It's Friday, and I've been doing these live streams about this time, somewhere between 2 and 3, mostly talking about new pickups, new releases, things that I got a hold of, I'm excited about, and I want to let you know about. Usually things are going to show up in the live streams before they show up in, the recorded and edited kind of more, just more my brain's not working, edited, processed videos. So you'll find out about stuff here first. And I do have some really cool new releases, some things that I had never even heard of. One of them in particular, I think people are going to be very excited about. I think it'll sell very well because it's the only fragrance of its sort that I know of. So got some really good stuff to show you before we get going. As you join, go ahead and comment. Let me know that you are here in the chat. And what I'll do is I'll talk about a few fragrances and then I'll go to your questions and your comments and kind of go back and forth between what you're saying and then show you some stuff and go back and forth. I do have some family at home. My daughter's got a friend over. If it starts to get kind of crazy in here, I might have to shut down the live stream, but I'm not planning on that happening. So let's go ahead and dive right into some really, I think, phenomenal new fragrances. Let's see, first one that I wanted to mention. Now, I say it's new because I had never heard of it before. I do have a few of the Emir line from Paris Corner, and probably 6 months ago or so, I got a Zoha Aroma dupe of Xerjoff Torino 21. Apparently the past year, it's been really hard to get a hold of. I don't know if that's still the case, but I know out of, the 10 or 12 Zoha fragrances I've covered in the past year, that was probably the one the most people were interested in, saying, oh man, there's not any dupes of Torino 21. If you don't know what Torino 21 is, it's a citrus green aromatic fragrance with a very particular mint note, like a realistic mint note. And Zoha fragrances, in my opinion, are of the highest quality. They're on par with something like Dua or Alexandria. They are more expensive. They're cheaper than those other two brands I just mentioned, but they're more expensive than like a Latafa. So not everybody buys them, and I get it. So whenever I saw this, I thought, man, this is really interesting. This is Paris Corner Voux Zingy. Let me know if you guys already knew about this, but for some reason, whenever I hadn't smelled this before today, I've had it for about a week. For some reason, when I got it, I thought, for some reason, I thought it was a Sospiro Vibrato dupe, just by the look of the bottle, even by even when I popped the cap off and smell it, but I hadn't sprayed it or anything. And today I got it out for the live stream and I actually sprayed it, and I thought, I think this is Torino 21. So I went to Fragrance Buy's website. They're the ones that I got it from, and they now have it listed as a Xerjoff Torino 21 alternative. So I don't have the original, unfortunately, but I do have the Zoha, which is actually supposed to be a very good dupe, and it's just a phenomenal fragrance. It's like a super freshy. And so this one, Voux Zingy, is actually a Xerjoff Torino 21 dupe. I've got a link in the description. I think it's around $30, maybe 32 or something like that. So price per mil, it's obviously going to be a lot cheaper than this one, which is phenomenal. Zoha Aroma, Mystic Mint, and Citrus. So I do want to compare the two. I haven't actually done this yet. I know the Zoha really focuses on the aromatics, the mint note, that realistic mint leaf note is pretty dominant in the Zoha. And from what I understand, it's the same with the Xerjoff. So go ahead and check these out side by side. I will tell you, off the initial spray, it seemed like the Paris Corner was a little more citrus, a little more sweet citrus focused than the Zoha. But we're going to check them out side by side and see what it is. So here goes the Zoha. Oh man, I think the atomizer just broke. I think it legitimately either just broke or got stuck. Well, that's interesting. At least I got a little half spray out first. I've never had that happen before on a Zoha bottle. Oh, I think I can fix it. Yeah, I'm not going to screw with this while I'm on live with you guys. Well, there you go, guys. Dysfunction live. That's how I keep it entertaining. I break things. So yeah, this is it is definitely, citrus, but it's quite minty. It's also, it's got a significant floral vibe. I can actually tell you the notes. It's lemon, mint, basil, thyme, black currant, lavender, verbena, and jasmine. And that's a very similar note breakdown to the actual Xerjoff. But as you can see, this is a very aromatic, herbal, what we would call fresh, spicy fragrance with those notes I just listed. So smells really good, but let me compare it to Voux Zingy by Paris Corner Emir Voux Zingy, also a Xerjoff Torino 21 alternative, and let's see how they compare. It's interesting today as I was looking at my YouTube channel, looking at some of the analytics, one of the, whoa, that's strong. One of the most searched for things right now, fragrance related, is top 10 summer fragrances. So I don't know if that's more of my viewers are on the other side of the earth where it's summer right now, or if that many people are just getting ready for summer scents. But this is a fabulous summer fragrance. Yeah, so this one, right off the bat, I get more citrus and more kind of that, lemon and verbena, and you definitely still get the mint. The mint is definitely still kind of a centerpiece of the fragrance, but it's not quite as herbal as the Zoha is. This one's a little more kind of sweet citrus. It leans, honestly, just a touch. It doesn't smell like Inspiro vibrato, but it leans in that direction of that kind of green citrus. But then it's got, the mint, the thyme, all those other herbs. It's actually, as it settles a little, it's getting closer to the Zoha. So, yeah, so I would say, in general, this one's going to be a little sweeter, a little more citrus, whereas the Zoha is going to be more aromatic, fresh, spicy, herbal, but they're still quite close. They're probably 85% similar to one another. Again, I have a link to the Emir down below. It's going to be a lot cheaper, like in the low 30s for 100 ml, where the Zoha, I think, is $40 for 50 ml. So anyway, Zoha in general are going to be higher quality than like a Paris Corner fragrance. That's just, it is what it is. Same with Dua or Alexandria, something like that. All right, another one I want to mention, two that I want to just sort of circle back to from last week, and then I'm going to dive into your comments. So last week's live stream, I mentioned two fragrances that I've been wearing the crap out of this week. One of them is this one from Paris Corner, Hurriyah, and this is a Oud Maracuja dupe, or Oud Maracuja is what a Portuguese viewer told me how it's actually pronounced. This stuff is phenomenal. Again, it's not as dense or as strong as Zoha's dupe of the same fragrance. They've got one called Passion for Oud. The performance on Passion for Oud is definitely better. It's a 10-hour fragrance, and it projects like a beast. I mean, you're just walking around in the fragrance cloud for 4 or 5 hours. This one, I would say, is, it's not as strong, it's not as dense, but it smells pretty much exactly the same. And again, the Zoha is supposed to be a really good representation of the original Maison Crivelli Oud Maracuja. I love this fragrance DNA. It's passion fruit, of course, oud, leather, patchouli. So it's like a dark, inky fragrance, but a lot of passion fruit sweetness. I've got so much of that fragrance in the air. I'm choking on it. But anyway, I really like it, and it's a surprising compliment getter. I never would have guessed that for this profile. People really love the way this smells. Even though it's a oud-heavy fragrance, it's a very smooth, rich, kind of deep, fruity fragrance as well. So check that one out. It's also in the low 30s, I believe. I've got it linked below. The other one I mentioned last week, this one I can't believe that you can get it for in the low 30s. This one's from French Avenue, Fragrance World's kind of, top tier. They do have a higher tier now, but anyway, this one is a brand new release in the US anyway. It just came out. This is Royal Blend Vintage, which is actually an alternative to Killian, not single malt. It smells a lot like single malt, but actually Killian Old Fashioned. And this stuff is phenomenal. I mentioned it last week, but I've been wearing both of these a lot in the past week. I just wanted to circle back and say both of these are, worth every penny. You can get them again in that low $30 range. And so incredible. If you were just going to get one, of course, my pick would be this one. It's boozy. When you first spray it on, it smells like a shot of whiskey, but then it sort of settles down and there's a lot of sweetness. There's some Divana, there's a wheat. I think there's a plum note, even though it's not listed because it smells so much like single malt, which is a boozy plum fragrance. So anyway, this one is also pretty cheap. For a new French Avenue, $33 or whatever is very unusual. They're often, $45, $50 when they first come out, and I think they're definitely worth that. All right, let me see what you guys got going on down here. Let's see. Great content. Thank you, Rena. What does the room smell like? Well, right now it smells like Torino 21. I'm like choking on a cloud of these different DNAs of Torino 21. Let's see. Can you take a look at Opus Magnum? I've heard of that. I don't remember what that is a dupe of. Is that, I know that, not Initio, Amouage has some Opus fragrances. I don't have any original Amouage fragrances. I've got some dupes, but in your opinion, what's the best DHI or Dior Homme Parfum dupe? The only Dior Homme Parfum dupe that I have is FOMO Gary's Den, also from fragrancebuy.ca. And it's, again, super cheap, like $34 or something like that, and it's very good. It captures that lipsticky iris with a little extra florals from the rose. It's got a little bit of the oud leather, it's got all of that going on. But I haven't tried, like I think Dua does one, maybe even Alexandria does one. I have no idea why the big brands are not doing dupes of Dior Homme Parfum. I think it's kind of crazy. Now, Dior Homme Intense, on the other hand, I have a bunch of dupes of. I would say probably the best one, I would still go with, sorry, my dog's getting loud. She'll stop in a minute. I would say probably the best one is still this one, Kion Classic by Al Watania. This one is almost indistinguishable from DHI. I would say obviously the Dior's got a little bit more quality, which is to be expected, but it smells so close. There's another one that's really good from Paris Corner, if I can remember the name of it. Camaro Homme Intense is Paris Corner's dupe, and it's actually really good. It's got even maybe a touch more of the lipsticky iris than the Dior does. I have the Dior also. So both of those are really good. You can't go wrong with either of them, but there's a bunch of others as well, but those would probably be my top two recommendations, and you can get both of them for pretty cheap, in the 30s. All right, what else we got here? Watching from Dubai. Hey man, welcome to the stream. I buy a lot of fragrances from your neighborhood there. Did I miss the Torino 21? Yeah, so this is Paris Corner's new Torino 21 dupe. It's called Emir Voux Zingy. I've got a link down in the description, but it's really good. It's a little more sweet citrus, like maybe 10 or 15% more sweet citrus, and therefore 10% less of that powerful aromatic herbal, mint and thyme and, all those other herbs. But it's pretty good. This one is probably still a little better, the Zoha Mystic Mint and Citrus. This one is about twice the price per milliliter, but I think either of them are great. It's just the Paris Corner. A lot of the time with dupes on, especially niche fragrances, when they have a, whenever they're not the most mass-pleasing DNA, they sweeten them up a little bit, and they did do that with this one. They just kind of sweetened it up a little, but I still think it's a great pickup. Green citrus herbal or green citrus fresh spicy. That's kind of what you're getting. Let's see here. Do I support Hitler? Nope, can't say that I do, man. That's a weird comment. I was given a bottle of Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille for Christmas. Is it any good? I love Tobacco Vanille. It is still, I think this is still accurate, still my favorite Tom Ford fragrance. I love that rich vanilla, that dark textured tobacco, and that overload of spices, cinnamon and clove and pepper. I mean, it's just such a powerful, spicy fragrance, and I love spicy fragrances. So yeah, Tobacco Vanille is fire. You got really hooked up with that one. Gary's Den is the closet. I don't know. Oh, the closest, I bet is what you meant to say. Yeah, it's really good. The Best Reflection Man clone. I think I only have maybe two. The one that usually people say is the best. See if I can remember what it's called. It's this one right here from Kadlaj. Kadlaj Shiaka Red. They've got one with a blue label, maybe a black label. You want to be sure to get the red label. And this one, it's really good. It's really close. I haven't worn this in a while. To me, this is like my spring, one of my spring go-tos, like one of my probably top 10 spring fragrances. You've got that kind of powdery orris and ylang-ylang, a lot of freshness, but also a good bit of sweetness, good aromatic vibe. All right, let me hit a couple more fragrances. I only got about 10 more minutes, and then I got to run to a parent-teacher conference. Hey, South Africa, we got Sizwe from South Africa. Sorry if I butchered your name. Let's see. All right, so another one that I had never heard of before, but apparently it is, it's not new. And online, I have not found anybody who can define what this is supposed to be a dupe of. I mean, I've looked probably 3 times and probably spent a half hour looking, and, people are saying it's a Black Orchid clone or something. It's definitely not. But this is from Fragrance World. It's called Brown Orchid Gold Edition. And I had never seen this one before, and it looked interesting. Joy Amin, which if you don't follow Joy's channel, he reviews everything. He's an OG. Probably like 10 years ago, he was making review videos. But he reviewed it, and he talked about it as a vanilla, kind of a rich vanilla, chocolatey caramel fragrance, which it really kind of does smell like that. It definitely smells sweet, gourmand. But the fragrance notes are not sweet gourmand at all. They are actually much more floral, like floral and kind of woods, like ylang-ylang and some other things. But it smells like a rich sort of vanilla caramel or toffee or something like that. It's a very warm fragrance. Smells like it might have some cardamom or something in it. So I don't know if the, everywhere online has the wrong notes, or if somehow that very floral fragrance ends up smelling like this. It definitely does have something floral in it. I mean, I could definitely see it having like ylang-ylang in it, but it's also kind of powdery, like maybe it's got some orris or something. But it smells great. It's a sweet kind of gourmand smelling fragrance. I could definitely see some guys feeling like this one is too feminine for them. It's like sweet vanilla, almost a candied, something like vanilla. I don't know what it is, but then it definitely does have some sort of a floral vibe, not really like iris, but I think ylang-ylang is probably right. So anyway, I really wanted to mention this for one. Do any of you have it? Do you have any guesses on what it's inspired by? It's a Fragrance World from a couple years ago, so Maybe they made an original fragrance, but I don't know if they were doing that then. Now I think they may be doing that with their newest kind of niche brand, and I want to show you a couple of those. But anyway, smells really good. It's actually reminding me of something right now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to that one. Anyway, it's pretty good. So Brown Orchid Gold Edition. I don't know much to say about it because it's kind of a mystery. What are actually the notes? Is it actually inspired by anything? But it smells good. I wanted to mention a couple here that are incredible. These are also new. So Fragrance World has a brand that is actually, they consider it like their niche brand, and it's actually a step above French Avenue. So French Avenue is kind of their top tier, Fragrance World is their mid tier, and then kind of their, I guess you could say cheapy tier would be a Thor Al Alam. I think that's the way it works. But they also have a new sub-house called Maison des Parfums. And I showed this one last week, Mythic for Him, and it is a Nishane 100 Silent Ways dupe. I talked about it, I think I did last week on the live stream, but it's really good if you like things like Valentino Uomo Intense. It doesn't smell like that one, but it's in a similar style. Vanilla, orris, iris, I think there's some jasmine. It's definitely a, vanilla and floral fragrance, but it is, to me, it's every bit as masculine as Valentino Uomo Intense, which is a fragrance created for men. Most niche fragrances are created to be unisex, and this one is, but I'm just saying, even though it's got those notes, florals and vanilla, I love this DNA. I wore the crap out of it this spring, not this one, but 100 Silent Ways, and I actually got a good bit of compliments on it as well, surprisingly. So this one's really good, Maison des Parfums, Mythic for Him. But I've got a new one here that I want to show you, and I want to look up the notes because this one is insane. And it's another one. I don't know if it's an original fragrance or if it's a dupe, and it's phenomenal. So the fragrance, while I'm looking it up, I'll tell you what it is. This is, again, Maison des Parfums. This is a boozy plum fragrance. It's called Inspiro. So let me look it up here. So Inspiro. I can tell you in the top, it's got plum and cinnamon. So when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, is this a plum japonais dupe? That's what I thought it was initially. But it doesn't smell like that. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's like a Guerlain, L'Homme Ideal Extreme dupe, because it's also got some cedar wood, but it doesn't smell like that. And I kind of went down the line of kind of the spicy, woody plum fragrances that I know of, and it's definitely not any of them. But let me tell you all the notes here. See if I can find it. I think the Oud store, yeah. All right, so the notes are plum, cinnamon, jasmine, patchouli. The patchouli definitely comes through. Vanilla, cedarwood, musk, sandalwood, and benzoin. So vanilla, benzoin, even the sandalwood, there's this sort of like sweet, creamy base, but there's also like a textured woodiness. I was really surprised it didn't have oud in it, but the plum, cinnamon, patchouli, it's really good. It's pretty dark. It's a pretty dark fragrance. And if you like plum fragrances, it almost seems like it's got a smoke note or an incense note. I can't put my finger on exactly what this is supposed to be. I don't have anything that smells like it, I don't think. Every time I spray it, I'm like, oh, it's so familiar, like it's on the tip of my tongue, but then I just can't figure it out. But this is another Maison des Parfums, and it is a very high quality fragrance. It smells like a niche fragrance. Like there's nothing cheap about it. There's nothing, fragrance alcohol blast. It's just like rich, dense, strong, sweet, spicy plum, with some kind of woody nuance. So really good stuff. Inspiro. Let me check a few more of your comments here. Yeah, look at the bottle. I know the bottle looks like a tree. It's like a tree root, and it's got sort of like a tree emblem on top. So at least I think that's what it is. So anyway, yeah, pretty interesting. Let's see your thoughts on ombre leather from Tom Ford. I like ombre leather. I like it a lot. I think that it is about your best choice for just a straight leather fragrance. It smells like a leather jacket. I mean, with not much else going on. I mean, I think there's saffron. I think there's some cardamom or something like that. Maybe even a touch of citrus, but maybe it doesn't have saffron. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked. But what it smells like is just brand new leather, like brand new leather seats or like a brand new leather jacket or something like that. So yeah, it's a fantastic leather fragrance. I like it better than Tuscan leather. Tuscan is quite similar, probably 80% similar, but it's a little more of a coarse leather, probably even a little more realistic or even a touch animalic. But then it's got that raspberry in the top that kind of sweetens it up a little. I really like both of them, but I would reach for ombre leather more often just because the type of fragrance it is. It's a little easier to wear. Any Valentino Uomo Intense dupes that you're aware of? Yeah, there's one that a lot of people love and a lot of people have really hyped, but I don't think it's that close. To me, it's like a blend of Uomo and Uomo Intense. So I'm talking about this one, Valencia Uomo Intense. And I have Valentino Uomo Intense and I have the original Valentino Uomo. And to me, this smells like, 60% Valentino Uomo Intense and 40% Valentino Uomo. It smells like the myrtle note from Valentino Uomo is in here. It's not as sweet as Valentino Uomo Intense. It also doesn't have as much of the lipsticky iris similar to Valentino Uomo. So this it's pretty good. There was a couple others a couple years ago. They were always hard to find. Like Riffs has one. So let us know in the chat if you guys have a recommendation. I'll tell you a really good alternative if you don't want to pay $100 plus for Valentino Uomo Intense. This one is actually pretty close to Valentino Uomo Intense. It's not as sweet. This is Narciso Rodriguez For Him Parfum. You got to be sure to get the Parfum. The EDT, the EDP smell nothing like this. But this one, other than it doesn't have, that potent sweet vanilla note that Valentino Uomo Intense does, this one's really close. Oh, another one. I wish I would have remembered to put a link. I'll try to remember later. If I don't remember my discount code, but so there is a company called Frag Bar. Frag Bar. They do dupes. They also sell a bunch of fragrances. Frag Bar does a dupe of Penhaligon's The Omniscient Mr. Thompson. And to me, The Omniscient Mr. Thompson smells a whole heck of a lot like Valentino Uomo. And their dupe of The Omniscient Mr. Thompson is incredible. I might have it handy. So Frag Bar. I think my discount code is just Sillage Scents. The reason I mention that is because with my discount for like $22, you can get a 30 ml and their fragrances are incredible. I'm telling you, like I would put them above Fragrance World. I'd put them above Paris Corner. They're like pretty much on par with like, maybe like a generic perfumes or Alexandria or something like that. So anyway, these little bottles here, these are only like, I think 10 or maybe $12 from Frag Bar. These little 10 ml sprays, they're actually pretty cool. So Omniscient Mr. Thompson dupe is going to get you closer to Valentino Uomo than even the one I showed you, the Narciso Rodriguez. It smells awesome. If someone just sprayed it in front of me and I smelled it, I would think that they were spraying Valentino Uomo Intense. It's got an awesome iris note in this one, Omniscient Mr. Thompson. So anyway, let me hit a couple more here, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to wrap it up. Let's see, what do we got? Have I tried Dior Homme Sport? Yeah, I have. I have tried it, and I have tried the newer version, and I've tried the older version. The newer one is very similar to Dior Homme with just a little more citrus, and it's got some aldehydes in the top. There's actually a good dupe of the newer one. I mean, it's decent. It's definitely cheaper, like a cheaper smell. It doesn't smell as high end as the Dior, but you can get this for like 20 bucks. This is Fragrance World Parfum D'Homme Sport. And this one, again, even on Amazon, you can get it for like 20 bucks. And it's very close. It smells, 85 to 90% similar, but it's a little more fragrance chemically than the Dior is. I'm sure it's just the difference in materials they're using, but amazing pickup for 20 bucks. Unfortunately, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up. I got to run and pick up, or actually I got to run to a parent conference. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for commenting. How is Camaro Homme Intense? It's phenomenal. I actually mentioned it earlier. It's a great dupe of Dior Homme Intense. It's very good. Anyway, I got to go, but thank you guys, and I'll see you again. I got tons of videos coming out, tons of clone videos. I've got one coming out probably tomorrow about the best cheap fragrances. It's a mix of dupes and designers. But anyway, I got a lot of good stuff coming. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you on the next one.